Southern Horrors, Lynch Law in all its phases, by the Honorable Queen Ida B.Wells, the black and white of it. All right, this is from the black and white of it. There is hardly a town in the South which now has an instance of a kind which is well known, and hence an assertion is reiterated that nobody in the South believes the old threadbare lie that Negro men rape white women. Hence, there is a growing demand among the Afro-Americans that guilt or innocence of the party of the accused of the rape be fully established. They know that the men of the section of this country refuse this, are not desirous of punishment rapists as they pretend. The utterance of leading white men showing that this is not a crime but the class. Bishop Fitzgerald has become an apologist for lynchers of rapists of white women only. Governor Tillman of South Carolina in the month of June, standing under a tree in Barnwell, South Carolina, on which 8 Afro-Americans were hung last year, declared that he would lead a lynch mob to lynch any Negro who raped a white woman. So say the pulpits, officials, and newspapers of the South. But when the victim is a colored woman, it is different. Last winter in Baltimore, Maryland, 3 white ruffians assaulted Miss Camphor, a young African-American girl who was walking out there with a young man of her own race. They held her escort and outraged, raped the girl. It was a deed dashing enough to arouse Southern blood, which gave its honor of rape as an excuse for lawlessness. But she was an Afro-American. The case went to the courts, and an Afro-American lawyer defended the men, and they were acquitted. In Nashville, Tennessee, there was a white man, Pat Heffen, who outraged, raped a little African-American girl, and from the physical injury received, she has been ruined for life. He was jailed for 6 months and discharged, and now is a detective of the city. In the same city last May, a white man outraged, raped an Afro-American girl in the drugstore. He was arrested and released on bail at the trial. It was rumored that 500 Afro-Americans had organized to lynch him. 250 of white citizens armed themselves with Winchesters and guarded him. A cannon was placed in the front of his home, and the Buchanan Rifles, state militia ordered to the scene for his protection. The Afro-American mob did not materialize. Only 2 weeks before, Alfred Gizzard, who had been charged with rape upon a white woman, had been taken from the jail with Governor Buchanan and the police and militia standing by, dragged through the streets in broad daylight, knives plunging him at every step, and with every fiendish cruelty a frenzied mob could divide. He was at last swung out on the bridge with his hands cut to pieces as they tried to climb up the station. A naked and bloody example of the bloodthirstiness of 19th century civilization of Athens of the South. No cannon or military was called out for his defense. He dared to visit a white woman. At the very moment, these civilized whites were announced their determination to protect their wives and children by murdering Gizzard. A white man was in the same jail for raping an 8-year-old Maggie Reese, an Afro-American girl. He was not harmed. The honor of the grown woman who was gladly enough to be supported by Gizzard Boys and Ed McCoy, as long as a liaison was not known, needed protection. They are white. The outrage upon a helpless childhood needed no avenging in this case because she was black. A white man in Mary Guthrie, Oklahoma, 2 months ago inflicted such injuries upon an Afro-American child that died. He was not punished, but an attempt was made in the same month of June to lynch an Afro-American who visited a white woman. In Memphis, Tennessee, in the month of June, Elton L. Dora, who husband of Russell Hancock widow, was arrested for attempted rape on Mattie Cole, a neighbor's cook. He was only prevented from accomplishing his purpose by the appearance of Mattie's employer. Dora friends said he was drunk and not responsible for this action. The grand juries refused to indict him, and he was thus discharged. So, and that's the end of that chapter. And, it was kind of hard for me to read that stuff from the other video because ain't nothing much really done changed. You know what I'm saying? We just not listening to our ancestors. Much love to the Queen, Ida B.Wells, for telling the truth. This is the reason why they would just go ahead and do their thing and lynch us. But when the law came down for them on the other side, still today, throw a rock and pick a case of them raping black women, nothing ever happens. And that's on both our part. That's on our part too as black males because we got to defend our women. But nothing ever happens. You know what I'm saying? But when the shoe is reversed, like the guy who made the Nat Turner movie recently, he beat the case and all that stuff. The white woman lied on him and Blase Slippy. They still brought it up. He was still an animal to them. So this is the kind of stuff we still facing in this land that we still haven't learned how to deal with yet. Do not let that be your vice. Leave Pinky Land alone. Hey, much love. Y'all subscribe to the channel. And we're going to finish this book on now in the series. This is part 2 of it. Hey, much love to all y'all. Peace.